Okay, with it being after 7 o'clock, we'll call the August 9th meeting to order, and we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Chairman, I move the July 26, 2023 minutes for approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. You want to wait for the thing, or you want to do it now?
No. Is there anything you want to take out of order?
Just make us schedule the,
We'll wait till we get to it.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, first order of business is 242, 1313, 509 Waverly Road.
That will need to be continued to the August 23rd meeting. I'm still waiting for additional information.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is 242, 649, that's no one. 586 Osgood Street.
Okay, this order was issued in May of 1993. It governed a 15-lot subdivision that had its entire frontage along Osgood Street. Lot 13 is 586 Osgood. In 2007, the property came before the commission for an enlarged deck project, and that project was approved under an RDA, and this outstanding order was not detected at that time. So it's undergone a transfer of ownership, so they're cleaning up this old order. The site is stable and in substantial compliance, and there's no issues to report, so I'd recommend issuing a partial certificate of compliance to release this lot from the order.
Thank you. Joe, any questions?
No questions.
Al?
No questions.
Brian?
No questions.
Motion?
Move that we grant the partial certificate of compliance specific to this lot.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one is a partial COC for 242, 628. 64 Meadow.
So the commission will recall discussing having this come before you, denying it because of a non-compliant rear deck that was enclosed, having discussion with the applicant's attorney at the last meeting, and the commission considered the fact that the agent back when the deck was enclosed approved the building permit, that the commission would allow for them to return for a certificate of compliance. So we have an updated request, and we would request that a partial certificate of compliance be issued to release 64 Meadowwood from this old order of conditions.
Okay, before you speak, I'll just see if they have any questions. Questions?
I've asked them all and they've been answered.
I know. Joe, no.
No, I have no questions.
Brian?
No questions.
You have any questions?
I have no question.
Oh, I thought you said, we told you you didn't have to come.
No,
Yeah,
that's
I
okay.
know,
That's
it's
all
all
right.
right.
No
We're
problem.
glad you're here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for being here, and I'm going to move that we issue the partial certificate of compliance for 64 Meadowwood Road.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
You're
You're all set.
All set, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You can come next meeting if you want to.
Well, I love you guys.
Just so you know, we have the highest ratings.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Matthias, thank you.
They had a butters here. Yes.
Everybody seems happy.
Yeah,
Fine.
everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy.
We all love Dixon.
Whatever.
Next one, small project, NACC,
Write that one at a time.
number 310.
NACC number 310 received.
Small project.
All right. Okay. Okay, so this comes Under a Category B, it's an existing deck repair. The existing deck is approximately 66 feet at its closest point to an intermittent stream that runs along the side of the property. They're proposing to replace existing wood rail with a new aluminum rail and vertical balusters, install 96 joist hangers, replace existing wood planking on the top of the deck with new wood planking. Deck footprint will remain the same. No anticipated ground disturbance. Existing joists of the footprint are 2x8 pressure treated, and they currently show no signs of rot or warping, and the existing steel post and concrete footers show no cracking or deterioration. There's no anticipated ground disturbance. We would recommend approving the project under Category B with conditions that an emergency 8-inch straw wattle just be on site in case the footings are discovered to be substandard, that they stop work if that's discovered, notify our department, install the erosion controls, and then just do a pre-construction to inspect the same, and then have them continue work if footings have to be changed out.
Any
And then
questions, Joe?
post-construction.
So this seems to put have them press the pause button should ground disturbance be necessary, but based on a meeting, you'd be satisfied to let them continue with groundwork, just as long as you're aware of it.
Right,
So we're not gonna ask them to come back.
right,
I'm all set.
yep.
I have no questions.
No questions.
Motion?
Ask a question?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just have to
Yep.
have a seat and tell us who you are, and you can, you have the floor.
Thanks. Peter Boynton, 320 Stevens. I'm the guy doing the repairs to the deck.
Okay.
I thought I heard you say, Amy, require emergency something on site,
Oh.
but I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry, just have an 8-inch straw wattle on site before you start work, just in case, I mean, it's just like that size,
How-
you know, a
how
stretch
long?
like 25 feet. I think they come in sections.
Because the only question I have is, we truly do not expect any ground disturbance, and I am more than happy that if we need it to pause, I'll come back, whatever you want. I just,
That was exactly the question I was asking.
Yeah.
If you're willing to pause
Absolutely.
and we're not gonna dig,
I mean,
your condition would be go get a straw wattle.
Okay.
But if he doesn't need it, why have it?
Okay.
the problem is then I'm gonna have to dispose of it and never use it. That just kind of bothers me.
Okay,
Yeah, Amy was just being cautious.
Yeah.
That erosion could take place.
You bet.
We'd rather be ahead of it.
Yeah, but how about if instead I pause, come back, do whatever you want, and then proceed?
That was exactly my question. So long as you're willing to do that.
Yeah.
It might cost you a couple of days to go out and get that straw wattle and do the work, but
Fine.
that's fine.
So if we
Okay.
do that, do I have to still have the emergency straw
no.
on site?
No.
No, that'll be,
Great.
that'll be waived with the understanding that you'll stop.
Yes,
Okay,
I will
very good.
stop, I will notify you, I will come back.
Okay, let me move this for you then. So I'll move that we consider this to be a small project under letter B. And accordingly, I move that we approve the small project as proposed with the emergency provision that the applicant agrees to stop the project if something changes.
okay,
And just to clarify, I will do that before we disturb any ground.
That, as amended.
That works. We have a motion and a,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous.
okay.
Thank you
Okay.
for
All right.
listening to me.
Thanks, Peter.
You're all set, sir.
All right, where are we?
Next one is 242-1871, 95 Olympic Lane.
All right. So the commission recalled that this is an addition using most of the existing one-story garage as the footprint, and constructing a new deck and stairs off a three-season room on the second floor, and expand patio mostly to square it off. Proposed foundation will be a 4-foot frost wall cast in place, and all work is out of the 50. At the last meeting, the commission required a revised plan to show roof infiltration proposal and the hot tub location, so we have that on the plan now. And we do have a DEP file number as well. I don't know if there's any other questions, but that's what came out of the last meeting.
Joe?
Well, those are my questions, and they've been satisfied. I'm all set.
Al?
There are no waivers requested here, right?
Right.
No.
This is without waivers, okay, very good. I'm all set, thank you.
Brian?
No questions.
Motion?
Move we close an issue in 21 days.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Next one.
Good
is-
job.
All set. Well, thank you.
Really good at this.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I wanted to make sure if there was any questions, we were all set. Thank you. All right.
Next one is a no DP number 242, 2302-3307 Juniper Circle.
The engineer is at a hearing in Georgetown, and he asked for us to table it while he finishes that and gets here.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that's unanimous. Enforcement order 47. Should we do the both of them at the same time? Yeah, he's here. 47 and 59 Bonnie Lane.
You guys have the maintenance plan already in your packets,
There's a million of them.
so just keep that for yourself.
You like to waste paper, huh?
Well, I wanted to make sure you had the full size plans.
Oops. Sorry about that.
It's never a waste if they're complying with our regulations.
There you go.
You want to do 47 first?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, the revisions were for potentially the same for both properties. We called out the correct stump grinding procedure, numbered, the stumps that were numbered to stay are still to stay. We did get rid of 4 white pines, and replaced them with 4 red maples. I think those will do a little better out there, and I think we all like red maples a little bit more than white pines. The O&M's really for the planning board and the homeowners. The planning board wanted to see something in writing, but this will help give the homeowners at least a little more of a concrete guide on how to manage the plants and make sure they're watered, especially during the first year of life. And then, either I or Howard will be out there inspecting for invasives. We'll make sure those get removed at least twice annually. Depending on the species, it could be more frequent, but twice annually is generally appropriate for invasive removal. I think that summarizes the key changes to the plan and the O&M that you guys just received as well.
Joe, any
And,
questions?
I did want to add, they have been in contact with Peter Breen. He's ready to go, whatever you guys are comfortable with everything. Okay.
You already ordered the trees, or he's doing it, or who's doing it?
We're both, he put it out to a few nurseries, to see who has the best stock and the best price. So he's currently ordering them based on what we show on the plan.
So everything is available?
As far as I know, yep.
Good. Sooner than later.
Yeah.
Joe, any questions?
Just making sure I understand. We're doing all of this under EO. There's going to be no NOI,
Yes.
so
Right.
the EO will be very explicit. It's going to get recorded. So that's what's binding.
Yep.
And at some point, they're going to want the EO released, which is going to also get recorded to.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And we weren't waiting on anything from Howard at this point. We agreed with his frequency of inspection and the reporting.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
So we're ready to go at this point.
Yeah, so I have, Justine helped me draft a comprehensive enforcement order based on the discussion
Okay,
last
well-
time, and
Good.
So you guys can
What I had
review it.
open from last meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go by me for right now.
Two questions. Do you have the letter from the abutter?
Don't with me, but I gave it to Amy.
As long as she.
Amy's got it,
In your
yeah.
packets,
Okay,
we
you
got it.
one.
That letter is just acknowledging permission to work on that property?
Yep. Authorizes
Yeah.
Secretary of Restoration.
Council feel that was sufficient to,
Do
I
we
didn't
have-
pass it by her, but if you want me to,
Do we have a cost?
I think I would make that would be sufficient to, the letter has been received and will be pending review from council, that it's sufficient to secure the work.
okay.
Yeah, the letter is not necessarily binding, it's one-sided.
Is there an estimated cost of this project? I know it ain't $241,000. Is it?
It'll be between around 40,000 to do just the stump grinding, installation, and, cleanup.
And the stock? 40,000.
And then cost for
That
follow.
doesn't include any monitoring
monitoring
or
or-
aftercare.
Okay,
That's just the install.
okay. I just was curious of a ballpark figure.
Yeah.
The other question is should we, can we require a performance bond on an enforcement order?
I don't think we can. I don't think we have the ability to bond an EO.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. You enforce-
I will stand corrected if anybody has better information, but I
The
don't.
answer is I don't know, but the reality is I've never seen it done before, ever.
Probably-
Typically, if it gets that far, we usually require that they file an NOI.
NOI.
And it's done through that process.
If it gets to that
But
point.
we're not gonna be doing that in this case.
Okay, I was just curious. But they're under the EO anyway, so if we don't like what we see, they gotta fix it anyways.
The enforcement order right now is the prevailing document, which, as Joe pointed out, we're gonna record. So I think that's as good as you could hope for right now,
Okay,
I think.
very good. Like I said, I asked because I never heard of it either. Ryan?
I guess my only question is the stumps that are gonna be ground, the chips, I read in the draft EO, it said something about placing them in an appropriate area. But I wonder if we should just specify, obviously not in the wetlands.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that was discussed at the last meeting,
So when
and it was
when
stipulated.
When Howard was here, he said that they would be ground in the areas where the new trees would be planted, and that they would actually be using them as mulch around them. So I think he was pretty clear, we're using them, right where they would, where the work was going.
So it would just be localized around the plantings as opposed to like broadcast or something?
Right.
Okay.
So that was his.
That makes sense.
That was his testimony. They were gonna use it as
That was his
beneficial,
testimony, but
beneficial material.
that needs to be memorialized in the order.
And on these plans and these
Yeah.
notes, so the notes should be consistent with whatever comes out of the EO as well, in terms of, making
Okay.
sure the stumps on the wetland side of the erosion controls are to remain. right?
Yep,
And
and
then,
that-
so all that information is in the EO needs to be, called out in the notes as well. And maybe even depicted, maybe, shade the stumps to remain something different, just to differentiate. Because the person going out there with this plan isn't here, right? That's gonna do this work, so we wanna make sure it's very clear.
Yeah, the stumps to be removed are labeled in the first note, but the casting of wood chips isn't specifically called out to be placed around the trees, but we know it'll be helpful.
Yeah, it should just be,
yeah.
just spell everything out.
Yeah.
Yep. That's all I have.
All right.
So,
I have a follow-up question to Luz, when you, after you ask
No,
yours.
no, go ahead.
No, you ask yours, go ahead.
I was gonna offer a motion, so.
Oh, me, so that's the follow-up question. So, when I started on this this hole with, understand the value of what was lost, is typically, we all know, in a small disturbance, 2 for 1, 3 for 1, 4 for 1 plantings might make some sense, and we're only talking maybe a handful of trees, but when you deforest an area, large area, there is a vast value lost forever. And the purpose of getting the appraisal as compared to the installation cost, the difference is lost value in the forest. And what I hoped was that we'd have some sort of dialogue of, so how do you recapture that? How does the town recapture that? Is it a penalty? Is it a fine? Is it some contribution to a tree planting fund in town? there is lost forest in our watershed, on our watershed. And that's where I wanted to start the dialogue going, and when we asked for the appraisal. Because it's a substantial $250,000 lost forest. And we are getting good in-kind replacement and well cared for and monitored for some period of time, but it's gonna take some time to establish. And the arborist calculated the value today of how that would return over time. But the reality is you're still lost. There seems to be about $200,000 on the table that this town and the watershed and the folks will never recapture. And that's why I just, even if it's nothing more than to get that out there,
No,
I think it's important to recognize that.
you're a good lead-in for where I was going. I am offering a motion to continue this hearing to a special meeting for the purpose of executive session, for both 47 and 59 Bonnie Lane. And if 40 Flagship were on the agenda tonight, I would include them as well. I believe that executive session on this, a special meeting in executive session is appropriate, if for no other reason, because the discussion will lead to the possibility of pending litigation. And that is something that ought not to be discussed publicly until even the minutes of executive session become public. It's not a secret meeting, but it would take it off this table and put it on a table where we could have the discussion with the experts we need to make that determination. The enforcement orders stand. There's no temporary stop to anything, but it gives us the ability to get it off this table and put it on another table where we can have that discussion, which I suspect is where this thing is going. And I suspect that other address, it's gonna go there too. And we need to have this discussion in executive session to get the information we need, have the discussion we need, and not anchor down a general meeting for hours on this discussion. So that's my motion.
On discussion. So I think we need to act on the enforcement order tonight. I think we need to be explicit that the enforcement order is only specific to what is included in it, and that the item regarding lost value of trees remains open, and just leave it at that. We can vote to go into an executive session. Before you do that, you have to give the purpose. So council will tell us what it is we need to say.
The purpose is very clear. The purpose is the possibility of pending litigation. And that is a subject that every board in this town discusses in executive
I get
session.
the language out of council, because I think a possibility of legal action is kind of a thread we would hang on, but I think the reality is to confer with council to obtain legal opinion that would not otherwise be conducted to the advantage of the community in public session. Let them come up with the language, and we'll vote that before we go in at some future meeting.
Well,
But I think we need to get the EO out and published so the work can happen.
I have no objection to that, but I'm asking you to grant the motion to put this on for a special meeting for the purpose of executive session. If for some reason that becomes untenable, then that can always be withdrawn.
Okay.
It has to be put out at a public meeting. It has to be requested at a public meeting. It has to be posted a minimum of 48 hours before. I'm unwilling to keep putting this back into the spin and lose 2 weeks.
Absolutely agree. But again, I'm talking more procedural than, I 100% agree with the approach.
If we get
But procedurally, don't we, I mean, we really, if we close out the EO to allow them to work, and we're not specific about that item
Yeah.
remaining open,
Yeah.
we no longer have anything before us to go into executive session.
Yeah.
But by excluding it, and have it documented that we leave that item open for discussion,
Yeah.
all other work is approved, but this still remains open,
Yeah.
that leaves that door open for us to take that
Well,
next step later.
with an open enforcement order, the door's open.
I think once we voted and it gets recorded, I think
Yeah.
We've closed that door.
So Joe, are
But
you,
I'm saying, put a
you
paragraph.
want language in the enforcement order that the discussion on
Litigation.
litigation
The
or
enforcement order is gonna be very specific to everything we've talked about.
Yep.
And the last provision is gonna say, notwithstanding all of the above, the issue regarding lost value of
value.
forest remains open and will be determined at a future hearing of the commission.
And that's where
But we need to put that in the order.
that's fine. No, again, no objection. I just, I don't wanna lose
Okay.
the opportunity to get this thing, keep it on track. I don't wanna lose 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks. And.
Exactly where I was gonna,
Well, I'm.
get them going.
I'm not, you know,
That sounds like they're ready to start.
and they can. They can. See, that doesn't, my motion for executive session doesn't stop them
Right.
right,
from restoring the area. It doesn't put the brakes on anything. It just keeps it on the active status so that we can make that determination. We may, at some point, receive information that says either we ought not to, or we cannot.
right.
But we're not gonna find out if we don't put it.
If we don't,
It
I
has
get
to-
you.
it-
Yep.
The motion has to be approved so that it can get into the queue.
Yep.
Otherwise, there'll be no discussion. It'll just be nothing. So, that's my request, people.
Okay. Well, you have a
So
motion?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And that's unanimous.
okay.
So now, 59. It's all the same, unless you want to talk again.
I-
The other one,
Is the O and M much different for 59 Bonnie
Exact-
Lane?
it's exactly
Exactly the same,
Exactly
okay.
the same.
what do you
Okay.
estimate the cost of this?
It'll be similar.
So,
And I say, by the way, I say 40,000, but that doesn't include Howard, our cost, or aftercare, so the whole project will probably be 60 to 75,000.
okay.
So-
Is Breen doing this project also?
59?
Don't know yet.
Okay, so as soon as you do know, would you let Amy know? So
Yes.
we know who's doing it?
Yep.
And it would be helpful to us if you give us estimate of cost for both projects.
Yep.
Didn't Howard do that last week?
He did provide, so his
Yeah, he-
estimate, again, was solely based on the cost to literally replicate the trees that were cut.
I think his bottom line said as much, that it did
Base-
not include, the other fees, the other costs.
No, it
It
includes,
does, he did
it includes
roll it in.
install, it
Yep.
includes aftercare. That's the process he used, included all of those. It's to get a tree back to what was there, which takes a long time, so just bear that in mind.
Yep,
It didn't include Dora either,
It didn't include me,
right.
so.
unless you're doing this for a hobby.
Mr. Chairman, the motion that I offered was meaning and intended to include both properties.
Okay,
Okay,
very
Okay,
good.
and not just, that motion for executive session was not just for one property. It means to use both properties. If
Okay.
it, if
I
it
heard
require-
Brian second that also.
yes. I mean, yeah, it's sort of mirrored.
If you can get that cost analysis for the two projects by the next meeting, that'd be very good. And, you don't have to come to the next meeting. You got the green light to go ahead and do it.
I guess
Okay.
I tried, it's sort of it's in his report, but it can be hard to read.
I can.
It's like teasing it,
I can
really
pull it out.
extracting it in
It,
terms of.
there is a bottom line number. I think for Matt's, the total appraised value was around 90, I think. And
Yeah.
then for Lehman's, it was around 240.
It was
240.
240.
41,
Right.
528.
Yeah, you know, and
And
But
he
then
excluded the
how
other-
much of that 240,000 is the actual
Well, but so-
carrying out this restoration plan with you
well,
guys
but,
and aftercare?
yeah, but so that's
2
part
million.
of the process he used, has to include all of that.
Right,
Because that's just how it,
It didn't include you
I'm the only thing it didn't include.
for the next 2 years or 3 years, so I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a
yeah.
yeah,
tag on that.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so,
That'd be helpful.
so what do we'll leave the enforcement order open.
Well, we
Would-
drafted a comprehensive enforcement order that we should probably look at if you think you're gonna vote on it tonight.
Is it in the packet?
Yes, it is. It's the last,
The only thing that's not included in your draft is what we just talked about.
Exactly.
So that's just gonna be another bullet at the very bottom.
right.
So we say leave it open, we will be issuing that enforcement order based on. some-
Right, that's,
Once we vote
that's
on
what
that
I'm
decision
saying.
and get it out there.
We want to ratify and issue this.
Correct.
And that in effect is what you're saying, it's open.
Right,
It's not closed. The enforcement
Right.
order is not going to be vacated until the project is restored,
right.
which is what this calls for.
So we're talking as if we're dealing with an NOI again and an order of conditions that would be due in the end of the meeting. The reality in an enforcement action, we actually have to
You kind of have to.
deliberate that now.
You kind of have to.
And kind of
Yeah.
complete it and vote it now.
Right,
To be truthful, I think overall, they showed us what they want to do, or what we expect them to do. The far as if the trees live or die, that's not our problem, it's their problem. How they're gonna take out the trees in the wetlands, they've already explained, it's already fully explained. I don't think we should give them any direction at all. They're all professionals, they know what they have to do.
Well, we're not giving them direction, except we're telling them to do it.
Yeah,
are you
exactly.
reading the right thing? What are
So
you
I-
reading?
I'm looking at your,
It's very fat bottom of my, of your. It's behind the 11
Oh, I
by
got you.
17s, I'm sorry.
Behind what?
Other words.
Behind the 11 by 17s. Yeah,
which one?
sorry.
Right here? Mentally ill kid?
Yeah,
Okay.
the very last.
Okay, I got you.
Okay,
All right.
you got it?
So you want us to take this,
The very last.
okay.
Yeah, there we go.
So that your very last paragraph, please be advised, the commission has the discretion to take additional enforcement. I think right before that,
Okay,
we add the phrase, notwithstanding all of the above, the matter of compensation for the financial loss of forest remains unresolved and will be discussed at future meetings. All other provisions shall be carried out expeditiously. And then
okay.
please be advised, the commission takes additional enforcement. I think if you add that in, we can get this on the street voted, they can stop the work,
Yep.
and we still can have the discussion at a future meeting on the other stuff. I think we have to.
yep.
Right, so all good. We're approving this one?
So we're ratifying the enforcement order dated August 10th.
Yeah. So so what we did was on the first and second page, we rehashed the immediate enforcement order we issued at the last meeting, allowing them to start the prep. And then moving on to tonight, the bullet points on pages 2 and 3. That first talk about recording the this amended enforcement order at the registry, before the first round of replanting, Conservation Department, owners, wetland scientists, and licensed arborists must collaborate on site to discuss approval of final locations of trees and shrubs. I think that's something that you guys talked about last time. I think you watched so Justine went back, watched the video, and took down kind of the points that came out of this discussion, so.
The market we had talked about, I guess the 100
Wetland
foot
markers.
was almost unreasonable. Instead
Yeah.
of, wasn't almost right up against the porch. So I think 50 is sufficient. Yes.
Where to place wetland markers? Is it at the 100 foot or the 50 foot?
He thought the 100 foot was unreasonable.
Yeah.
Well, I think we talked about because the planning board has their no disturbance zone is like
100
100.
feet.
I think it's more than that.
It's over 200.
I think
It
it's,
was in the front
I
of the
think it's like the
house.
front of the house.
Oh.
But, it wouldn't hurt for a future owner to at least know that the edge of the lawn is,
Yep.
I think staying 50 feet.
50 or-
like it's,
Yeah, I mean, it looks like the 50-foot goes
it's
right
rough,
along the
I think it's
majority of
roughly
plantings.
the edge of lawn.
right.
Yeah.
50 feet, yeah.
Um,
Right.
Would it be unreasonable to put them in both areas as can be completed?
100-foot puts them in the front of the house.
So maybe there's a portion, maybe there's somewhere out at the 100 that one could be put, that's not obstructing the house.
Right.
I don't know what the
Yeah.
lot, I don't know, just,
So those lot setbacks from the street are all about the same, you have 3 houses, this one 47, 49 to the other side,
Yep.
and then the encroached disturbance
Yeah.
on the first house.
Right.
But they're all, they're all about the same distance from the lake, so all that 100 feet would be all in everybody's front yard.
Yeah, so I think 50 feet's reasonable.
but by putting it at the 50, are we giving permission?
I know.
Well,
The 100 is in the back of the house.
but that's all, between the 50 and the 100 is mostly lawn.
Right.
So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to put them at the 100.
I'm
Right.
just concerned that we're, by failing to act, we're waiving.
Well, maybe it's not our wetland markers, maybe it's different signage that is maybe,
I mean, if we,
at the 100, maybe not in front of their face, but on the sides,
That's
or
what I'm saying.
maybe, I don't know,
Does the planning board have their own placket?
No.
They don't
no,
have a watershed emblem?
I'm not aware of one.
I'm not aware of
I'm not
any.
aware of a.
But maybe it's different messaging, because it is misleading, like, right here, you can't do anything beyond this, but, the rest of it's for fair game, which it's not really, so.
Right.
Yeah, we have to decide, because we have to vote on this enforcement.
So, like, well,
So what
think-
you said the planning board, but I think the Public Works has protected reservoir signs that they put all around the lake in various locations, that may be bigger than we like, but let's find out what they have. I would say if we put the protected reservoir signs
Yep,
at what was the limit of lawn area at either side of the property line, so they're shared between, so 2 of those signs are shared between the 3 lots, and then the other lots, I guess really it's only 49, we could do, the other person's just a victim of encroachment.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't make him put a sign in.
right,
But we get 3 signs in that were the limit of lawn that publicly notifies the people there that this is the public drinking water supply and it's protected. And I think that's what those signs say.
But that's my concern.
right.
That's my concern.
Yeah, I
know
think-
I know it's,
I think the language of the signage should be, your property, the entirety of your property is within a protected wetland resource and watershed zone, listing, changing the current conditions is prohibited without prior permitting with,
I mean,
do you know, I mean, I don't know, I
no,
think it's.
I understand, that's what I'm saying, like,
Something more
I appreciate
global,
the
like saying
monuments,
it's not just beyond the sign, it's your whole property. So maybe, I mean, if you guys maybe want to do like so many signs on the property that has language approved by the Conservation Department to talk about watershed, your whole the whole property, not just, oh, your 50-foot no disturb, no build zone or whatever.
See, that would be almost more a document with a plot plan on it showing,
And then we should then,
a document issued to the various,
That's the slope very slippery slope we went down to get on an enforcement action and not a certificate of compliance, because once the enforcement action's been satisfied, it's extinguished from the record. Where in order conditions can have perpetual conditions that remain on file at the registry.
Well, look, I mean, we could
Can you
request.
put
we-
can
we-
you put a perpetual condition in an enforcement order? When you
lift it?
When you lift it?
Lift it in that lifting
so
document.
there's what's driving the question. So we know at some point the enforcement order is gonna be vacated, we know that, at some point it's gonna be done. We put monuments at the 50.
Right,
The house, the homeowner sells the house and moves on, and a new owner comes in. And all they see are monuments at the 50.
right, right,
Right.
right.
You're starting this game all over.
Exactly, exactly.
So,
So-
this is the problem. People move all the time. People buy and sell and move, and what one homeowner agrees to, the new homeowner has no idea. Example, that deck that we were dealing with.
Mhm.
You gotta, and I'm not objecting to monumentation, I'm just saying.
No, I know. We gotta do it right.
There's gotta be another way.
Yeah.
Absent an NOI, absent an order of
Right.
conditions, is there a way to take a
Well-
a map of the area, a drawing, a submittal that's been submitted, and somehow make that a perpetual document that stays with the property. Is there a way to do that? That's the part of, I don't know.
Well, okay, so the planning board is requiring an after-the-fact watershed special permit for both
That's where you
properties.
can do it.
So that sounds like a good.
So,
That never extinguishes a special permit.
Right.
Rides with title.
So I like
Right.
that, I like that,
We have to make sure that whatever it is we're looking for gets into their document.
right.
because that's gonna be much more important than, I don't take this the wrong way, but it's
No.
more important than monumentation.
No, I know.
The
I mean, but at
monumentation
least
is-
it spurred this conversation because some sort of,
So
on-site.
collaborating with the planning board on that would be the right way to go, I think. If they can produce a document that is perpetual, that we can tag onto, that's not a bad,
So our enforcement order should say, permanent monumentation shall be installed in accordance with any provisions contained within the planning board special permit. And then by reference, we get back to the special permit, and then they make sure that their document gets the language that we would all agree to. Is the planning board leaning, they don't have a specific distance, or do they? Is theirs the 100 feet?
Theirs is 250, I believe. It's a
There's-
250 non-disturbance from the edge of the lake or wetlands around in the watershed.
So they're gonna have the same debate we're having.
yeah, because the street is within,
I also don't want, I mean, this is pretty bad violations for sure. But I also don't want to lose the sight of the fact that for some 45 years since this house has been built, it's had a backyard. And it's been
It's been the same.
pre-existing non-conforming disturbance. And I don't want to make it look like a punitive penalty that we're taking that back. Because I don't think that's our intention. We're only looking to get the forest back.
No, but this is kind of like opening the door on stuff that's been overlooked for 45 years for the rest of the houses. So we can be proactive, and after we make this a model, we can get into the other people and just send them a registered letter. This is what it is, and what a perpetual could cost you. So that everybody knows. So everybody's on the same page. We're not singling them out. We're gonna use them as the poster board, and then, so everybody plays the same game. Because if they do it, and somebody says, well, it only cost me 40 grand, I don't care. I'll do it too.
40 grand is nothing compared to $80,000 view I'm gonna gain in value
What?
by giving me the view.
Exactly.
So they just,
Way beyond
it's
that.
worth paying.
Exactly. I
So-
know.
I wanted to think that way.
So without speculating, how do we want to handle the monumentation, if at all?
I think we want to make reference to the planning board.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Let's begin to debate that, but I don't want ours to be silent on it. But I also don't think that putting it in here all by itself without the planning board backup.
I like that too. I think that that's what we need, is we need to collaborate with the planning board,
Yeah, non-conform, that would work.
pre-existing non.
Yeah.
So that sixth bullet down is going to make,
Yep.
is that permanent monument shall be installed in accordance with a special permit issued by the planning board for this project.
Incorporated by reference, yeah.
Right. So that's
Okay.
it. So we need a motion.
And this just underscores the importance of the executive session. We have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to make sure that
Go ahead.
the seventh bullet, you guys, I think you were very clear about the 100% survivability
Yeah.
of all
Yes.
trees.
Yeah, we were very clear
So
about
clocks
that.
start on each tree if they croak and are replanted.
We not only were clear on Howard was in concert with us in saying that I'm going to see degradation pretty early on.
Yep.
And even before that third year is up. we're already gonna be talking about replacing some of these trees.
Trees, okay,
He went so far as to say that.
yep, okay. Just want to make sure.
So on page 3, you address that.
We do, yep, page 2.
And we don't give any instructions as to how to achieve the 100% survival rate. That's not our problem, not my job. We want to know that that's what happened.
Can't plant the flower.
What
Okay.
else? What else?
I think that's it, unless you guys have something else.
Do we need a provision to revise the plans in accordance with the EO?
Yes.
Just to make sure
Yes.
that gets done
So,
before the work
so,
occurs.
just so I'm clear what you're asking for. The plan should be revised to incorporate the directives of this enforcement order.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
I think so. That's a good idea.
Okay.
Don't want to diminish the importance of the discussion and deny anybody from 59 the same opportunity, but the reality is that it's exactly the same issue.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, yes.
For what issue, sorry?
It's
Mon-
exactly the same with that other
monumentation.
property as well, so it's not like we're neglecting to, debate his concerns.
Oh, yeah.
They're the
Well-
same.
Well, the signage will be a little different there because it's pretty much wooded to the back of their house. They don't have any lawn really, so that one's a little weirder. I don't know why they have a backyard or don't have a backyard, but
I would say yes, because I think at some point, everybody that's on that lake is gonna have some type of signage. Because it's been neglected for so long,
yeah.
and little by little, everybody's starting to do a little more and a little more and a little
Yeah,
more, so we're trying to pull the reins in and get everybody back on the same page. So he's gonna get the signage also after planning figures it out. And we let planning know that they should consider putting signage on everybody on the lake.
Yeah.
Thought to your point, is our notation referencing the planning board sign requirements is still the same, it's gonna be the same reference. Whatever the planning board decides
Yep.
on that lot.
On that lot.
Will be unique to that lot.
Yeah, sticking just to these 2 lots.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
You need a motion to ratify and issue?
As amended, ratify as amended
Yeah,
for 47 and 59 Bonnie Lane.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Great.
Could I just add something really quick?
Yes,
I just want to say, as you guys enter the discussion about penalties and litigation, both of these people, I don't think anyone took this lightly ever since you guys issued the enforcement order. I can tell you it's taken over their lives completely. You saw how upset Lehman's been. I don't think that was an act at all. They're spending upwards, again, of $60,000 to fix everything. I do understand that the value of those trees will never be recovered. But again, the values relative to Howard are a little different to what we focus on, which are, the value that the trees provide the environment, which are obviously tough to put a dollar value on. And I would say they've complied with everything they've done, and they've gone above and beyond in terms of coordinating and working with us and you guys to try to get it done. I know it will, whatever you guys see fit will happen, and we can have that discussion later, but they have really done their best, in my opinion, and really put their best foot forward.
I don't disagree with you at all, and if I came across as being punitive, I don't mean to. I think at the very least, we need to recognize that there's substantial value lost that the town, and the folks in town will never regain.
I understand.
And if it's nothing more than they're getting that out there and getting that on the record, I think that in itself is very important.
yep. Thanks.
Thank
Laura.
you.
I appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
Thanks.
Now, with regard to the motion for executive session, where do we go with that now? That motion passed. Do we
So-
schedule a date for a special meeting?
We can put it on for the 23rd, and in the intervening time, I can consult, as Joe said, consult with town council
The 23rd.
to make sure that
So
we're in step with
the 23rd
with the
is
regulations.
a regular meeting, a 7 o'clock meeting.
Yeah,
So if we're going to have executive session, it should be before the meeting.
okay,
It should be at no later than 6 PM.
6 PM.
Yeah, and get that out of the way.
Okay,
It should not be scheduled for the same time as the regular meeting, because then it's
Right.
just, it's
And then it
defeating the
just-
whole purpose.
I agree.
We're screwing up the regular meeting, and we'll have people
Yep.
sitting here that shouldn't have to sit here and listen to it.
Okay,
And
We
it,
wouldn't do it in this room anyway. Everybody leave a.
right, but, no, but
Actually, there's one more coverage room there, is there?
But my intention is not only to not have it in this room, because it's executive session, it's intended to be private. My intention is to not cause everybody else that has on the agenda.
yeah, to be waiting around.
Sitting around waiting. Is
Exactly.
The whole idea behind
Okay.
it.
Works for me.
So 6
So
o'clock.
if we have it at 6 PM on a meeting day.
Yep, okay,
We're coming here anyway.
All right.
Most of us block off meeting days anyway.
anyway,
So
okay.
could we do it that way? and
Yeah,
then- and then,
absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Okay,
And if I can just add, my intention at the executive session will be to discuss also other properties that have the possibility of litigation, such as Flagship Drive and such as the Foster Farm oil spill, just to name a couple more.
So you can't say such as, when the actual posting comes out, it will have to be specific.
Then I'm naming them.
For these properties, at these addresses,
Yep.
for these reasons.
So then kindly, I thank you, kindly add those addresses to the purpose
Okay.
for the executive session, Foster Farm and Flagship Drive.
okay, 40 Flagship.
Same subject matter, just,
Okay,
all right?
yep.
Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Thanks.
Thank you all.
Thanks for the clarification.
Thank you all for listening to me go on about it.
Could you
No.
list the Bonnie Lane ones first, because I think the other two are gonna take a while.
Yep, absolutely.
But to Joe's point, he's right on, we gotta name it.
Name
We gotta
it.
name it, it has to come out on the agenda, and then we can talk about it.
Okay,
All right,
all right, thank
Okay.
you.
Council will give you guys, but we have to start in open session.
Yes,
So we have to post a meeting at 6,
6 o'clock.
because we have to vote and poll to go into executive session from a public session.
so
So we have to start this meeting at 6.
Right.
Poll each other, we'll all go into executive session,
Yeah.
and then come out and start the regular meeting.
Got
Done.
it.
Restart the meeting.
Yep, no, that makes sense.
Yep, we do, you're right.
makes sense.
You're right,
And we're still telling everybody else to show up at 7, but,
right.
Yeah.
So I'll put like times for, like, regular business will start at 7 o'clock.
right, yep,
But
Yeah.
the meeting will start at 6, executive session, and then 7 PM as regular business for the rest of the
and
agenda.
that'll satisfy the open meeting law
Okay,
with respect to
Yep.
all notice.
yep.
All right, next one, 196 Marble Ridge Road.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna pull up presentation here.
Hey,
Oh,
give us 1 second more.
yeah, sure. Okay. Alrighty, so I'd like to introduce Maggie Lofsted. She is the wetland consultant that the owners have engaged to help them manage this enforcement situation. So the commission will recall that I stumbled upon this violation looking at a deck at the rear of the house through a building permit process. I noticed that some sort of drainage system was installed in or very close to the wetland. The commission issued an enforcement order requiring that the wetland be delineated and the extent of disturbance and the drainage system be delineated and placed on some sort of a map or plan. So Maggie went out there, did her investigation, delineated the wetland, got a good handle on the true extent of the disturbance, of all the disturbance and all the work that was done. We visited the site and spent probably like an hour and a half out there just looking at all the wetland delineation and all of the disturbance. I asked for some wetland flagging changes to move up gradient a bit. And so basically we have a French drain system, I guess you'd call it,
Yeah,
sort of?
I would call it a sort of a French drain system.
Yeah.
Yes, with, you want me to start?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
With,
go
with,
ahead.
3 catch basins, as you can see there. And then so the French drain system can basically consist of these, I don't know the exact size, but either the 8x8 or 12x12 little plastic catch basins. And then that attached to the catch basins is a 4-inch corrugated plastic pipe. And then that outlets, and in one of the photos you can see it outlets into the BBW that we delineated, or that I delineated. And I think the pipe goes about 4 feet into the BBW. I should explain that, first of all, apologize upon the behalf of the owners. They did not know that there was a wetland on their property. And a good portion of this BBW is within their lawn. So I guess probably from wetland flag 1-9A all the way to wetland flag 1-4, that is actually their lawn that kind of goes up. So that I believe it's fed from like seeps that come out of that hillside, because there's like standing water. Like when I was there in May, I think it was the end of May when I did the wetland delineation, there was basically water at the surface, you know, in that lawn. So kind of by wetland flag 1-6. So that is the wettest portion, right at the base of that hillside. So you can see the French drain system, it wasn't even installed in the right place. So it was just it was a big mess. So if we want to, so do you have a good handle on what they did? Do you want to go to the photos, or?
Oh, yeah, I can do that.
The photo, so I put together I labeled some photos, just because it kind of shows what's going on out there. So we're facing their house. There's the catch basin number 1. So I labeled all 3 of them. Also, they're labeled on the plan. They should be anyway. And there you can see the catch basin number 2. And there's that wetland that kind of comes up into their lawn in the background behind that silver maple. And then the next one, that's the catch basin number 3, which is actually a little bit, it's just within the boundary of the wetland. And I kind of just sort of sketched in the line so you could see. But as you can see, it's lawn, so based the delineation on the hydric soils and hydrology. We had to toss out the vegetation, which is an acceptable method. There's a close-up of one of the little catch basins. So this is, you can see the little the pipe outlets into the BVW, and also the contractor excavated a channel in the BVW and placed some rock in the channel. Just, I would say, like a couple of inches, 2-3 inches, not a thick layer. And if you scroll down, that's just, another angle showing how far the wetland, the channel, the excavated channel extends into the BVW, so about 10-12 feet or so. And there's a sort of a side angle. I sketched in the approximate wetland line, and you can see that some rock was pushed into the wetland as well. And then they put placed those 3 big rocks there at the kind of, right over the pipe outfall.
Opening.
And this is the wetland soil that came out of that excavated channel.
So
So-
that's ready for that can be reused for restoration.
Yeah, so any questions on the disturbance? And if not, I'll move on to the restoration plan that we are proposing.
Any questions on the existing?
Talking about a survey, that's a pretty comprehensive summary report of existing conditions.
I know.
Good job.
Yeah.
take a little exception to the word, they didn't know they had a wetland. I think they were probably ignorant of the fact of the significance of what a wetland is. Clearly, you know your land is wet when you're putting a drainage system in. So you can't get around that, right?
Well, I think they thought the.
I'm really curious who the contractor was. I think we ought to know.
Yeah.
You have that, did you?
I
I think we need to put one,
Didn't I never
be
got
on the
that.
lookout list.
So, should I move on?
Yeah, let's hear about your restoration.
Okay, so the restoration plan, what we are suggesting is that the catch basins will be removed, and we will put these caps on that plastic corrugated metal pipe. So basically close off the system. It's not a perforated pipe. It sits in, there's rock in the trench or surrounding the pipe, and we are recommending that would be left to minimize any disturbance, because remember, this was all within their lawn, their existing lawn. We are, however, proposing to remove the piping, the rock, anything that was placed in the wetland, and then restore the wetland to pre-construction or pre-disturbance conditions by using that topsoil. We think that there's enough wetland topsoil on site that they can use to regrade it to match the adjacent grades, and then to seed it with a wetland seed mixture. And we're proposing to plant a half a dozen spice bush. Spice bush is a dominant shrub, wetland shrub in that area. It is also a little bit of disturbance in that wetland already, because I guess the Essex Railroad or something was at the far end of their property. So there are some railroad ties, etc. And that intermittent stream has been realigned, probably to run alongside the old railroad once upon a time. So it's not pristine by any means down there.
And so the work in the BBW to remove all the piping and the stone is by hand?
It's going to be done by the same contractor. He has agreed to remove that
Okay.
and dispose of offsite.
You didn't say remove the pipe. You said leave the pipe and cap it.
Just,
Well, we want him to cut the pipe so it's like there's no pipe and no rock in the
in the
wetland.
wetland. So,
Okay.
He can
So
do that.
wetland.
Yeah.
so do you see this blue part here where my cursor's going up and down? That's
Just that piece.
That's the channel, right? And then there's a little bit of pipe that goes right over the edge of the BBW. So they would cut it off there, right? Is that
Yeah.
what you mean?
Yeah, and cap
And
it.
then, and cap it, and then restore, take out all the stone and restore, and then fill this channel back in with the side cast
The side cast wetland soil.
wetland. And I would assume this is manual labor. I mean, I think it should be.
Can't be
I
that
don't,
deep.
it doesn't,
No.
right.
No, I mean, the little excavated
So
channel
is
is,
the contractor proposing to use a backhoe or a small machine or?
I mean,
Because we're thinking handwork.
would he be able to have, if he uses a small machine and sit in the lawn, like outside the BVW, so he can reach in?
Probably use the mini excavator.
I was like, what was a small rubber track machine?
Bobcat.
No, Bob can't be too wide, because that 99 is digging the trench 5 feet wide.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
This
Just
mini
a little
excavator, he
skinny
goes, he can go a
little
foot.
baby excavator.
Just scarify out, put the
That's-
wetland soil on the side, take the rock and the pipe out. To be truthful, I think you should just pull the pipe, leave the rock,
Pull the whole pipe.
pull the whole pipe.
That's what I'm thinking.
Are you talking in the resource area?
All of it in the book?
I'd like to see all the pipe go.
I would like to see it gone because
All of it.
it's always gonna be draining something.
Yeah, I mean,
It always will.
caps
And
fail.
even if it doesn't drain, if it's watertight, when the groundwater comes up, the water table comes up the next time, the whole damn thing's gonna float right out of the ground.
Yeah.
So, I think it has to come out,
Especially, I mean, it's within the 25-foot no disturb, you know.
which actually simplifies things. Right?
It's not, I mean, it's,
I think you should-
access isn't an issue to get in there, right? I mean, it's wide open. I think, yeah, especially because it's within the 25 no disturb.
Like I said, come in there with a mini excavator, pull the pipe, leave the stone, put the wetland soil over it, and seed it.
So so you're saying leaving the crushed stone in the wetland and just put the
Yeah.
side cast soil over it?
Leaving this subgrade, when any water, it might follow that, because the seed's the easiest route. It might do the job that they want it to do. Put the water in the wetlands. It's not a direct discharge, because it's all stone all the way, so the water will infiltrate as it's working its way down. And then cap it with the wetland soil. And you would save money just by just coming and taking the pipe up, leave the stone, and just cap it with the,
So the
wetland
entire,
soil.
you're saying the entire pipe?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, I think that would be, and leave all the stone,
I think that, and leave the stone in.
okay.
What do you think, Joe?
Exactly where I was going, just get the whole darn thing out and,
Yeah.
and just cover it right back over. I think, for some period of time, we get some benefit, because it will function like a French drain
Right.
initially, just following the stone.
Right.
But over time, that'll choke off and it'll revert back to its natural condition.
Exactly.
As long as you get the top covered.
The silt will do to your stone, and it will be back to what it used to be.
Right.
Like I said, by using those caps, nothing lasts forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that cap fills with soil or compaction, now it stops. Now you got the water coming through the pipe, and you got pressure. The water's gotta go somewhere. So like Joe says, it'll
come
just rise the pipe right out of the ground.
All right, so let's amend the enforcement order to reflect what we're talking about.
Right?
So I guess the only other point of discussion I want to make sure we talk about is mowing the actual wetland. Are we going to require that they stop that? And then monument, like at the edge of the wetland?
Do we have any forensic, historic record of what was previously mowed? I mean, this is an old part of town. I don't want to take away people's yards. This has been mowed for 40, 50 years.
And I think that was the genesis behind the flood prevention project that they went on, was they have a yard that they've been using historically, that they wanted to try to get some of the water off. I understand how it happened.
Yeah, I looked at aerial photos before I came here.
It's been
At
yard.
least
It's their
1995.
yard, and I'm not meaning to take away yard either.
Yeah.
Back to at least 1995, it was being mowed.
I think
could
it might
tell
have been
from aerials.
like a farmland or something. I feel like I remember looking at some historical photos, and it looked like it was like an ag field.
It probably was at one time, yeah, I would imagine, but I mean, I agree, I don't want to take away people's yards either, if it's
So-
been there
so-
forever. you know.
So we want the pipe system removed,
Yep.
Right.
and the area seeded, and
Leave the stone and then put the side cast wetland soil over it
and I would say let
to
them.
regrade and plant?
Let them maintain the
replant.
yard as they have historically without any flood prevention devices in place.
Are there any wetlands off to the side that aren't developed, that they could plaque it, so they don't expand the lawn?
You did it right
Well-
along the edge of the yard.
It's the front.
Yeah. No, right here, from the back.
What is the question?
Is there any,
Are there any
Undisturbed
undeveloped
wetlands.
that we could placard
Yeah, right
to keep
next,
them out of it?
right next to the existing lawn.
So
That's-
put
this
them
is
right at
all
the end,
wet.
the edge of lawn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the green line there, Brian?
Yep.
Yeah, that would be a good place for
Wait.
monumentation.
what green line are you talking about?
Well, actually, the lawn actually extends into the wetland.
Just the
It's
stump
not-
shaped thing right here though, right?
Exactly, yep, exactly. That's
But
what
from
I-
here over, and from
Right.
here over, can be monumented. Is that what you would drive me at?
Yeah,
I agree
at
with
the
that.
edge of lawn, it would be, basically it was lawn to wetland.
Yeah, like by wetland flag, like
So
111,
this area
112,
right here,
down in that area.
right, this was mowed,
Mowed wetland.
right, yeah, so you could put the monument sort of like along the edge of that lawn. If that makes sense. Well,
So,
it's tough because,
he's saying, can you see that? No, you can't see that on that.
but do we want monuments in the wetland.
Right, and
This
see,
one?
right, no.
Right, this is
So he's
So that
saying
What if this
monument
is
along
natural?
this edge.
What if we just did this?
Right, but that's not accurate. That
That's
monument-
not
the
accurate.
The monument wouldn't be true.
Let that
Yeah.
I get no objection. Just let him have.
Brian, take a look at this, if you don't mind, then we can hold it up when.
Sure.
So if we have lawn area, which includes the thumb up here,
Yeah.
I think, we have what's natural wetland that way, and we have natural wetland this way. What if we took from wetland flag, can't read the number, but from this one to this one, connect the dots and monument this. They can continue to mow this, but they have to stop mowing that.
I'm okay with that.
Are you talking,
So let's do what we just did up here,
So-
what I just talked about up there. So if this is disturbed lawn area now,
yes,
and this is not,
right,
and this around it
It's
is
not,
not,
right.
and that is not, I'm saying that from this wetland flag
yep,
to that one, draw the line across, monument this and
Yep.
that. Let them keep this lawn and stop mowing that.
It's a
And
good-
that monument's the real,
So the
real
monument
wetland.
would only go on the wetland line.
on the wetland
One
line,
here and one
and
here.
not, we won't get any, just no disturb back, and put it right on the line, because that's what they've been used to doing.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And we'll
reasonable.
get that
So-
other area back.
all right, so we'd need one on this line, one in the middle, and one there.
Yes, and then
Right.
maybe a couple moving out in the
Yeah, out on,
diagonals.
yep, okay,
And everything this side, they can continue to use as lawn, as, mow it as they have been.
okay,
But stop mowing that other, rest of the
this,
thumb up there,
this,
up
this
top.
thumb.
Would you require any further restoration of that area or just stop
I
mowing?
think let it, re-
No.
It'll-
It's so
it
damn
will-
wet, you
it
stop
will
mowing it.
revert so
Just-
fast.
I give it 2 years.
At-
It
at-
would.
At the
It would
most,
revert
at
fast.
the most, maybe put some wetland mix in there, if needed.
Yeah.
If you got bare spots that need some mix, but I wouldn't go beyond that.
I would say it'll take over in no time.
Well, put the wetland mix in, and that way you
So
keep the knotweed out.
1-4,
I think that's a fair compromise.
4
Yeah, that's very fair, very reasonable.
through
Okay,
1,
So,
9A.
Plantings, do you want the shrub plantings?
what's that?
Do you, should we proceed with the plantings of the spice bush? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Great,
Yeah, so you know the direction we want the pipe out.
yep.
All right, so let Amy amend the recommendations, and then we can move it.
Okay, so prohibit continued mowing of the wetland between wetlands flag 1-4 and 1-9A. Monument that line, along with some, the rest of, we could monument, 10 or in front of where the disturbance was, where the channel was dug. Just stop, or just stop that mowing that thumb, and then just some of the rest of the wetland as well. Remove the catch basins, all of the pipe, loam and seed. Leave the stone that was deposited in the wetland, use the side cast soil
Yeah.
to regrade and replant. And did you call for seeding of
Yes.
wetland seed mix? Okay, so we,
The New
wetland seed
England,
mix,
Wet mix.
okay. And then maybe some wet mix in the thumb that's gonna be retired.
Yeah, where appropriate, put some wet mix, where it's appropriate.
Yeah, yep.
And the bushes.
And the shrubs, yes. Let's see, so we got all the things to do, when to do them.
I think anytime,
So-
sooner the better.
Yeah, tomorrow's
But-
good.
Tomorrow will be fine.
Yeah, this
No,
year.
yeah, we can start, but is it like a deadline by, like, should we
No,
have,
This is not usually the time of year to do restoration, but
No, this is perfect time, there's so
Don't
much,
forget,
there's so
don't
much
forget.
water. Listen,
Well,
there's
I
so
mean,
much
getting
water up
all
there, you
that-
can grow lobsters in that yard.
getting all the stuff out, getting it loamed and seeded for the lawn, and maybe like the planting of the wetland can be in the fall,
Well, I heard.
but no later than
I heard,
next
I heard
May.
that
I
there
don't
was,
know.
the contractor volunteered to get into this thing. How soon can you get this done? How soon can you get that contractor in there?
I would think very soon, next couple of
So,
weeks, is my
Can you
guess.
quantify very soon?
Pardon?
Quantify.
Well, I can't speak for him or the Kowalskis, but I think very soon, because he was out on site early this week, and so.
Let's give them, let's get a status report on the second meeting in September.
Well,
I think it's,
that's a long time
no,
to
I
do
think
nothing.
they should start.
They should
No,
start.
status report.
Status report.
I mean, at that point, it might be they're done.
Okay, I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
So
But-
start right away and report by when?
I say the second meeting is September, and then we can determine whether that's, they're making progress or if we need to give them a more hard deadline.
Right, okay, I agree.
And when you're gonna, I would find out off the contract, excuse me, what he's gonna use. I think the premium way to do this is a mini
Mini.
excavator. He could be there in 2 hours and get it all dug up.
Yep,
And be minimal disturbance,
yep.
especially if he has rubber tracks, that's even
Yeah.
better.
Would we want him to do the regrading in the actual wetland by
You can
hand?
do it all, mini excavator has a little bulldozer blade on it,
Oh,
they can just grade it right off. Like I said,
okay.
Grade it and
if
seed
he
it.
dogs it, it'll take
Yeah,
him a
but-
day.
Okay.
This really is perfect time right now.
Okay, all right, so
We
just,
got the humid subtropics going on out there,
all right, so, immediately begin this work.
Tomorrow morning,
Okay.
7 a.m.
Okay, I'll try to get this order out
Probably
as
not
soon as I
tomorrow.
can.
Next week, I'm hoping. I'll let you know.
Okay, all right, and then so a status report at the second meeting in September, and then at that point, the commission can decide whether there's a,
If we need to give it.
it's a hard deadline.
We're hoping it's done by then.
Yep,
That would be,
Okay.
then we'd know, we wouldn't have to be paying.
Hopefully you'll be, pretty well done by next meeting.
Oh, yes.
yep, okay.
But, we don't
Okay, so you're good with that?
I'm good with that,
All right, so I'm gonna move the enforcement order as amended.
okay,
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, and that's unanimous.
all right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Maggie, I
Crack the
appreciate
whip
it.
there, kid, get him going.
Thank you.
Next one is 863 Winter Street.
Alrighty, so the commission will recall issuing an enforcement order for hardscape landscape that was installed partially within the 25 and within the 50 to a bordering vegetated wetland. Commission had issued an enforcement order. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Requiring that a plan and a narrative detailing the approach to removal of hardscape features be submitted no later than June 23rd, and then that they utilize the 1999 as-built site plan, paying particular attention to limits of work to help them develop that restoration plan. They have worked to engage the services of Maureen Harold with Norse Environmental. Her schedule has been such that it took time for them to connect. She is on vacation this week as well. But the homeowner is here, and I guess we can get an update from the homeowner.
Yeah, hello. So we talked with Maureen. We schedule a meeting with Amy and Miss Justin in there on the day in my property.
Mm-hmm.
Then we look all the work, and then we talk about the job, and then what we can do to resolve these matters. And then I get engaged with John Smolak too. I'm trying to get in touch with him. I call, email him, but it seems like they're busy. So Maureen, it's on vacation this week, and she specially directed me to come here today to talk with you guys. So we are working on it to get an say, something to present to see how we can resolve this matter. So we're working on it. So we have a couple ideas on that day we talk, me, Amy, and Justine and Maureen. And then I want to present that to John to see if it's going to be doable about the property and put some areas, preservation areas on the property to get back, pay back something and I don't know how I can explain better.
Yeah.
But we're going to present this to John, and John is going to see if he, first I need to see if he's going to enjoy this, and then, but Maureen already, we're going to start sketching something from this. So I really appreciate if we have time for developing this, because we're trying to do it.
So Maureen and the homeowner had floated the idea of placing a conservation restriction on a portion of their property in exchange for allowing the hardscape to stay. I didn't give any indication as to whether you guys would be amenable to accepting something like that. But it's a free country, so they can ask and see what the answer is. But I know he wants to try to connect with Mr. Smolak.
That Smolak's role, I was trying to understand what the role would be, what
Yes.
otherwise would be an
Yes.
engineering project.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, but the idea was discussed, and I said, CRs are great, but this may not be something that the commission sees as appropriate
Or is it even allowable?
or even allow, right, so
Yeah, but I'm willing to look at it. I have no problem with them bringing it in front of us.
Yeah, as an option, sure.
Present it, I mean, we can either
Just to
agree,
look at it.
we can either agree or disagree, but I would not tell them not to bring it.
Okay, no, I told them, it's a free country, you can do what you want.
No, but I mean, I'd
And
be
you can
interested
float the
in,
idea.
I'd be interested in hearing the proposal for a CR. I would, I'd be interested in
He
hearing that.
needs waivers, so he has to have an alternatives analysis. So that
One
could
step
be,
at a time.
that could be his
If the
alternatives
accountant's
analysis.
But I mean, that's-
Why he's requesting a waiver.
Listen,
That becomes the second part of the
if there's a
conversation.
way, if there's a way out of this, let's look at it.
Yeah,
All right, if he wants to make a CR on his property, let's hear him out. It's not gonna cost us anything. We listen to a lot of stuff here that,
a lot out here.
so I mean, I'm willing to consider anything they put forward. I'm not saying I'll vote for
Refresh
it.
my memory, it's not a unilateral decision of this commission to accept a CR. It's a lot of hurdles. Is a CR the same as like going through Executive Office of Environmental Affairs? I mean, this is
That's
a long, protracted
that's
process.
what I am envisioning.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
selectmen have to
a real
agree to it.
CR,
Well,
not
yeah.
just a deed restriction.
Yeah,
Let's-
exactly.
let's-
We'll hear it. There's a lot of things, a lot of I's to dot and T's to cross if that's something that's worth doing, and it doesn't happen overnight. But they gotta bring something to us solid
Well-
soon.
Let's see it.
Like I said, we haven't had the plan in a while, haven't seen it in a while. But his original application, it was noted on the application that the wetlands were delineated
Yes, before we bought the property.
before he bought the
So
property,
he
so
knew
he
where
knew
the-
where the wetlands were. Okay, and he did this.
Well, so,
I'm
I'm
not-
not in the bigger
so-
discussion. I'm
Yeah,
not there yet. I'm
Yeah,
not
see,
there yet.
No, I know.
that's not lost on me, but I want, if he wants to propose something, let's look at it. And then we can go from there.
Right.
I agree with that, but I think in tandem, there should be a backup plan for restoration if we're not gonna be on board with that CR.
Yes.
Otherwise, the conversation's
Well,
just
that,
gonna get kicked down the road.
he's got a
Well, there'll be a
wetland,
real deadline put in place.
he's got a wetland scientist that
That's
he's
been around.
hiring,
Right.
right? And he sounds like he's hiring counsel. Let's see what comes in.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's see what
No,
falls
yeah, I
out.
agree, but I just wanna make sure that, a plan to actually restore it is being, there's not a great chance we're gonna be able to accept a CR. I think the hurdles are gonna be
Monumental.
pretty ridiculous, to be honest with you, and it's gonna take a lot of time. Not to say we shouldn't hear it, I totally agree with you there, but I think we also need to see, as that CR plan is being progressed, a plan to actually comply with the bylaw. So that it's not, the next meeting we talk about a CR, we say no, then we can move right out of, okay, well, we're not gonna do that, then.
So when,
He should be talking to an engineer already. He should be prepared to, I'm prepared to put that same deadline. Second meeting in September, second meeting in September. If we don't have any proposal for conservation restriction, we simply order a deadline to come into compliance.
Yep, I agree.
And get and fines and penalties ticking at that clock.
Okay.
Yeah, because this has been going on since
Since May, and again, it's, we've been good. We've given them 3 months, 2.5 months to get it this far, or not get it this far, but get it back to us. And, there may be something I'm missing this year that is a great idea, let's hear it. But I'm not gonna give them more than another 6 weeks.
All right, so what do you want to move it to for the deadline?
That, I don't have the date, but second meeting in September.
Second meeting in September?
Okay, you understand, we're going to give you till the second meeting in the month of September to come to us with your plan.
Okay?
You got to have some kind of a plan.
Yeah, we're working on this now. Like I say, I don't want you guys thinking I'm
Yeah.
dragging my feet,
No,
so
we're
I'm
not-
trying
We
to.
understand.
We're not thinking anything, we're saying, make it happen.
Sure.
Okay.
But like
So-
Ryan says, I know you're gonna hang your hat on the CR. That's gonna be a difficult thing to get done. So you should have a plan, as if the CR never existed, on what you're planning on doing with Maureen to change what you have now, to be compliant.
Let me ask something. CR means what?
Conservation restriction.
Okay, so that conservation restriction, that's what we're proposing, putting a conservation restriction.
We didn't propose anything.
No.
You guys brought that to us, right?
No. I don't mention, nobody proposed, I proposed this, but I didn't know what's the CR.
Oh, you
I was
didn't
just-
know that it was.
I didn't know what's this.
Conservation, CR is short for conservation restriction.
Yes.
Exactly what you and Maureen were talking about.
Yeah, but I didn't know the abbreviation.
Yeah, no,
CR.
yeah, CR. That's just
All right,
conservation
so hopefully
restriction
Maureen
for
will be at
short.
the next meeting.
Yeah, she'll be here,
All right.
and then,
To the
I'll-
second meeting in September.
Second meeting in September, and if you can talk to her before the
Sure.
meeting and make sure she understands that there needs to be a
Yep.
backup plan ready to go.
Backup. Yep.
And just remind her that the 25 is sacred in this commission.
Oh, I know.
Don't need to
I,
remind her.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, everybody understands that. And that's well known.
the
25-foot no disturb zone
Yes,
is
the
sacred,
25-foot needs to serve, I
As is the
understand,
no-build.
has to be restored the way it was before.
Okay.
We regard that very sacred.
I know, yes,
Okay.
All right, so
We'll
we'll-
see you in
We'll
September.
hope to see you in September, second meeting.
you're gonna see me September, Wednesday.
Second.
All those in favor, say
Hold
aye.
on
Aye.
one second.
Opposed, that's unanimous.
Hold on,
Look
let
at
me-
that. One sec.
It looks like the 27th of September. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I could-
7th September,
This is the 13th.
Yeah.
Yeah,
September
27th.
September 27th is the second meeting.
Okay.
September 27th.
Okay.
Okay, we have things
Good.
for you guys.
That would be
about the
good. That would be great.
meeting. Okay,
Excellent,
thank you very much.
What do you need? Just a motion to continue, Amy?
We already made
You already
it.
did
We
it.
voted
You
it.
did- You guys
We
did,
did?
I think you
They
did.
voted with us.
And we'll continue to the
Moving right along.
I was
27th.
talking to,
27th.
No, you voted in the
September.
midst of talking.
Yep.
It was
All
amazing.
right. Thank you for coming.
talking my sleep.
You were multitasking.
Multi.
Next one is 242, 634, 85 Colonial Ave.
Okay, so you guys will recall that there was a certificate of compliance request, and there was non-conforming structures at the rear of the house. You guys denied the certificate, basically. The sellers tried to come back, requesting a modification to allow all the structures to stay. You discouraged it, and they tried to go back and negotiate, so they basically came to a settlement with their buyers. And I think it was basically, here's some money and you deal with it. So they're out of the picture, the sellers are out of the picture now.
But the
So
property
now-
still doesn't comply.
Exactly,
Yeah.
so, but we can't let this fall off our radar, because now that we know about the non-complying.
That's correct.
So we have to put the new owners on notice, and I just wanted to get it back in front of you to ask, should we write a letter? Do we start with an enforcement order
I
or
think
a
it's on an
letter?
enforcement order, I think.
Or a very minimum violation
Very
notice.
little
Violation.
A violation notice, a notice of violation.
Okay,
and be specific what
Here's-
it is. And then have them get in touch with you, and then we go from there.
I can't believe somebody would buy a house with an outstanding.
I was just gonna go there. This is really dangerous. Who the hell knows what they negotiated? You deal with it. I don't know what that means.
Well, no, I
But the
don't.
reality is, if there's a fiduciary issue here, if they went out and got a mortgage, and
Or pay cash.
maybe they pay cash, but if they got a mortgage and it's encumbered and there's another party involved in this, we turn around after the fact, we're in essence gonna be held, basically held accountable for not dealing with the first one.
No, no.
No, because
I
we,
get-
no, because we didn't know about the non-compliance until it came
We
before
just
us.
denied it, we didn't find them in violation, we just denied the certificate of compliance.
That's correct. And we told them to put it
Because
into
it-
compliance. We told
I
them
think
to-
Right,
I
and
think
you
it's a
guys said,
mess.
put it,
we
put it
told-
into a
we told the
compliance.
previous owner to bring
Yes,
the property
bring
into
it
compliance.
into compliance.
That's what we told them. We did exactly
Yep.
what we did, and we went to
Yep.
the limit of what we could do. They decide to sell the house, and a new owner decides to sign a waiver and say, I'll buy it knowing it's in violation. We're gonna notify the new owner
They're in violation.
they're in violation, and we'll
Leave it at
start,
that, we'll fight the battle.
start the process, but we
Okay,
didn't.
let's leave it at that, that's the
That's the
battle.
first step.
I'm very comfortable with
Okay.
the action we took. We didn't say, sell the house, don't sell the house. We said, bring it into compliance.
And we're gonna be consistent on that.
Correct. Correct.
Okay.
Plan on seeing this house move.
Okay, you want to vote on that, just to
Vote on what?
direct me to
Nothing be,
issue a
Issue
violation
a
letter?
violation notice?
Yeah.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's unanimous.
So, Paul Bergman is going to be here in like 4 minutes.
Okay. Refresh my memory, which item is he on?
He's Juniper Circle
Juniper.
Notice of
Juniper Circle,
Intent.
okay. All right,
Okay, so he's on his way.
all right.
Still got the 114 corridor approval.
Yeah, so 114, Ryan has to recuse for any discussion, so
Yeah.
it's, I didn't get to go to the,
neither did I, the hearing.
yeah, it was, we had, flooding happening, so it was, I just couldn't do it. So I don't have much to offer in terms of,
So the limits of the project from Waverly, Southerly, all the way to Willow, which is just beyond Culver's, correct?
Yeah.
So the only jurisdictional areas that I recall is from McGregor Fence, heading southbound on the
Yeah.
left, McGregor's Fence, down to Mr. Sudsey, around Mr. Sudsey, into the beginning of Chestnut Green.
Okay.
Chestnut Green condos? Chestnut Green.
Chestnut
On the
Green,
left-hand side.
yeah.
Only thing jurisdictional. On the right-hand side, it's from, all of those houses' backyards have wetlands, because it's
Yeah.
the big, red maple swamp out behind Willow and parallel to 114, all the way down to Dunkin' Donuts. Then from there, it's just basically stormwater BMPs all the way up to Willow. So it's that small stretch on the right and the much bigger stretch on the left,
yeah.
the limits, and that's just from, reconnoitering in my head.
There's
What I
no-
don't know is what they're proposing, but it sounds like multimodal paths, and it sounds like it's widening and permanent filling,
Yeah,
and
they're gonna put like 6 new intersections. But you know something? They designed that project and never took Flatley, what Flatley's property?
Royal Crest.
Royal Crest into the equation. So if that project flew and put 14,000 cars back in there, that wasn't even factored into the highway improvements. They said they didn't care, it's already designed too late.
So Chestnut Green
so on a bigger
is
scale,
here.
this, you were around when we were dealing with Mass Ave and Chickering, right? Or was that
I-
just on
well,
the
it was-
cusp between?
I was on the
Jen and you?
cusp, right,
Right on the, all right.
yeah.
So, we took DOT to task
Yeah.
on doing certain things. They
Yeah.
fought tooth and nail, but in the end, they just wanted to get the project moving, so there was some compromise.
Okay,
But we could not enforce the full.
bylaw,
Bylaw. But we got them to the greatest extent we could
right,
to meet most of the intent of it.
okay.
This project is that on steroids.
Oh, yeah. Not even close.
And I don't think they're gonna play with us. and I don't think they have to.
Find out. They might bring that guy back that's got 2 years' experience.
He's got 3 now.
Oh,
So, so,
Doesn't matter, 1 more year, he's gonna go to another company anyway.
so
well,
Joe.
yeah, he might be in charge.
Joe, at this point, so they're entering the ENF process. What, I
So
mean.
ENF is basically an environmental notification form that
Right.
goes out under the MEPA process.
Right.
Basically says, we got a project that affects historical properties,
All these triggers in
there's
the
many different
MEPA,
triggers, and I
right,
think even environmental justice, right?
yes,
As well as various environmental things.
Right.
What comes out of this process with an ENF is going to be a scoping certificate.
Mm-hmm.
The scoping certificate will likely be, you need to do a full environmental impact report.
okay, yeah,
They might give them a pass. We don't know.
all right, okay.
So depending on how many things we throw in, we should talk about the significance of the wetlands and the things that are important to us. Reply to MEPA through the ENF process and make certain at least it gets addressed within the scoping certificate. What does it ultimately do with the overall environmental impact report, and what does it do with the project a year down the road? It's a long process.
Okay, that's what,
This
that
is
was my
strictly the
question,
ENF hearing.
like,
This is not the
How-
pre-construction meeting, this is environmental notification form hearing. That's all
yes,
this was.
yes,
Now, refresh
okay,
me, aren't they supposed to go from the Lawrence line?
Waverly,
That was already coming, that came through a separate filing, if you remember, from Waverly South. Excuse me, it's Waverly North up to the highway, remember? And they only did some of that project.
but in terms of time frame before we even see it in a notice of intent is
A year.
a year?
Way
Okay.
after the ENF is out,
Okay.
after the scoping certificate's issued and after the environmental impact report comes out, will you
Okay.
even begin to see designs on this project?
Got it, okay, all right,
All that being said is, we have a window, August 24th?
yeah,
There's a window
Yeah.
which we have to get comments
yeah,
in. We should not let that window close
okay,
on us.
all right, okay. Okay,
And even if we
I'll work
don't
on that.
think they're willing to play, we should talk about the importance of the wetlands, and we have no bills and no disturbance, and
Yep.
we expect mitigation for everything they do, and, you know, we need to have them address what they intend to do for mitigation.
Yep.
We need them to know that this is in a floodplain, and we need them to know that for every bit of filling they do, what's their intent to compensate for the displaced floodplain. I mean, all those things need to be laid out.
yep,
I haven't even seen the plan, I'm doing this from the top of my head, just knowing the corridor.
I haven't seen not one picture, not even,
all right, I'll try to,
Did you went, Ryan, to the?
Try to get that for you.
We have to recuse.
Yep.
All right.
okay. All right, so Paul is here, Paul Bergman's here for Juniper, notice of intent.
we're gonna have to beat you up so bad this time.
Thank you for scooching me around. I just came from Groveland Conservation. That's why I'm late.
Hopefully they treated you nice.
It got continued. It was okay.
All right, so would you say that we should do the structural plans? Structural plans? All righty. All right, so I'll give you an overview, quick overview. So the project entails replacing and expanding the existing retaining wall with a new shea concrete block wall. The rear yards are eroding and there's some subsidence happening at the edge of the existing wall. Parts of the existing wall consist of boulders and other parts consist of stone blocks. The new wall will be installed essentially in the same location within the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW, partially within the 25 and the 50-foot no-build zone. The commission will recall this condo complex was a 40B, so strict adherence to our bylaw wasn't required. The top of the wall will be approximately 100.5 elevation throughout its final, it's about a little less than 200 linear feet.
Right.
There is a patio that comes very close to a section of the wall, and that will need to be taken up to allow for room to move and maneuver in that area, and then replaced in kind. Justine and I inspected the wetland line and found it to be accurate. It's a sea camp line. We actually did request one flag moving up gradient, 7 feet, but that's just because he missed a swale. But otherwise, it was accurate. Construction access and stockpile areas are shown on the plan. You guys have a annotated aerial plan that shows, included in your packet, that shows that. We discussed the possible need for rubber mats to protect the lawn from the construction access back and forth, instead of requiring a crushed stone construction access. It seems like it's a lot more invasive and disturbance to restore than, but we can discuss that, and that could possibly be a condition of the order. So we're going to have to continue because the DEP site is down and a file number has not yet been issued. But you guys should, hold discussion, give feedback. And if I'm missing something, Paul, please plug in where I missed.
Joe?
First and foremost, it's great that you're coming in beforehand. It's a lot easier for you, isn't it? And the last one wasn't your problem.
I know.
You get thrown into it.
Yeah, thank you. As Amy said, she and Justine met with us this morning, and they moved the A5 flag closer to the buildings, I believe.
Yep.
Upslope from the wetlands. And these plans actually, so we went back to the office and my engineer actually modified the plans. So these plans reflect that, yep, right there.
Right there.
Yep, the new flag location.
Okay. Now, those are recent flags, or these are historic flags from the...
No,
no, they're
they're
recent.
They're
recent,
current.
yep.
They're
Mike
recent.
Seacamp.
So the whole 40B waiver of 25, 50s and stuff were based on an old line, but you're still trying to adhere to that from what I'm seeing here.
Oh, this is an as-is line today. These were just set by Mike.
Yeah,
From what,
this is a fresh wetland delineation.
right.
So what I'm saying is that if we, I mean, for the exception of that area between A10 and A7, everything else seems to be along the 25 or up gradient of the 25. There was no
Oh,
wall there
yeah, so-
previously, but it was disturbed area previously, correct?
Yes.
So we're actually getting something back and a physical barrier. Even though they're getting further into the 25, it's
Yeah,
still
with
not
this-
beyond what was originally disturbed, currently disturbed.
I
That's
would
right.
agree,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. They're not going closer to the wetland with the new work.
And right opposite A7 and going all the way along where the existing boulders are, you're intending to leave those in place, install your new wall, upgrading it above that, but leaving them in place, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Pretty straightforward. I'm all set for now.
The existing, in some areas, there's no wall.
Mhm.
In some areas, there's boulders that were probably placed when they built the complex. And then in some places, there's like unilock or
Unilock, yeah,
Versalock locking wall. And that wall is actually failing and rotating out towards the wetlands. And as Amy said a few minutes ago, there's subsidence all in the backyards of these units, probably because the backfill back then wasn't compacted correctly.
So my original question is the stone walls are staying. This deteriorating block wall is
That
coming
get-
out. That's coming out. But again,
Yes.
that's up gradient from the stone wall, so it's already protected by those stones. Like, I'm satisfied with that. They seem to be running almost concurrent to each other in that far left end.
And the other thing that was my suggestion, I think it might even go back to Taylor when we looked at it with him, was that, yeah, there's a photograph, is that the wall is continuous, so that plus the 4-foot chain link fence, in our opinion, would offer a nice delineation between the backyards, and yeah, it just delineates the area.
That's what I was recognizing, is most of that length is either on the 25-hour gradient, with the exception of the area between 810, opposite 810, and A7. But even then, we're getting a wall and a fence and a physical barrier
Right.
in an area that's already currently disturbed lawn.
Right.
I'm outside.
We're gonna try to reuse the fence, I know that's minor, but we're gonna try to reuse the black vinyl coated chain link fence. It looks to be in pretty good shape, and as long as it's not set in concrete, and we're calling for the fence to be installed on top of the blocks, which Shea can do for us. They just core the top of the wall.
And that's the patio that's closest to the wall.
Right, the patio that Amy, it's over on the southern end.
Yep.
There's a note for,
Shaded off.
see over, it's like the second patio from the right, and it says see note 4, existing patio to be removed and rebuilt, same location.
Yeah, gradient. So that's the
So what's that?
Versalock, that's part of the Versalock on the other side of the,
Can you go back to one of the plan views, if you could, please?
oh, yes. All right, let's see. The construction ones or the,
One that looks like this, it's C1,
let me see what you got.
plan C1, sheet C1. This is what Louis would typically ask, and I'm sure he will, but I'm looking at, you talked about taking the one patio, which is on the far right, southerly, if you will.
Right here. Right.
But how do you get in there? How do you get the rest of the blocks in? Because you've got an existing boulder wall to remain, and a patio on the far left that's right up against it. How are you going to get those blocks in?
You mean the Shea retaining wall blocks, Joe?
The new ones.
The new ones.
Yeah, they're obviously working with small equipment, and it's off the plan, it's up there. Justine and Amy and I looked at the, construction access. So that's all grassed area. So it's basically one
That's
block at a
detached.
time.
I thought that was one contiguous building. There's a separation between two buildings here.
Yes. So,
Thank you.
look,
Yep.
you have an annotated aerial in your packet that shows the construction access and stockpile.
It
Just-
wasn't, I'm sorry, it was just,
No.
I wasn't picking up on that.
And then of course, the blocks will be coming in on a flatbed from Shea and Amesbury, and we've talked to the contractor that I think PMA is gonna hire, and it's off plan, but west of these buildings is the parking area and the driveway. And that's where they're gonna be stacking blocks, and they literally have to bring the blocks in, I believe, one at a time.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah,
So this-
and again, as Amy said, the construction entrance, construction access that showed the purple line up there, instead of ripping out all the lawn and the shrubs and putting in crushed stone, if they can put down construction mats on the grass, I think that'd be a lot friendlier to the site. Yeah,
It's just a thought.
yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
The right track machine would minimize the disturbance, period.
Yeah,
But,
a rubber,
rub-
If anything, we'll wait.
especially where there's already subsidence. You get into a loose pocket,
Yeah.
and you can blow that existing wall out sideways,
They're
but
gonna push, everything's gonna push toward that wall.
it is gonna want it down and out. Especially when you got, how big are these blocks? Are these, you said shea,
Yeah, yeah.
are these like the quarry blocks?
It's the classic, 2x2x4 roughly. They have a little on their drawing S 1.0, excuse me. Okay, they're 16 high, 48 long, 24 wide. I was close.
Those are
Those are a
concrete
ton
blocks,
of,
concrete blocks that they make.
those are a ton of piece.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna walk them back and forth.
Is that,
So let's get down to reality. They need to replace the wall. They need to get them in there.
Yeah.
It's going to be dangerous. It's going to be slippery. There will be some blowouts. It's almost inevitable. Are you proposing down gradient erosion controls?
Yes.
Oh,
As
yeah.
well?
Yeah, that's
So
on
even if there is a blowout, we're containing it some way from getting further out to the wetland.
We've already walked the site with, it's either Stefanos or Stefanos, I don't know how to
Yeah.
pronounce the last name, but they did the work on the infamous
Dogwood?
Dogwood Circle that I was
Wall.
here last time. No fault of them, I think they did a pretty good job, but I believe PMA is talking to them about doing this wall too.
And so that wall on Dogwood, is it similar to this?
Yeah,
It's the same type of,
yeah.
They have more space over there, I think. Guess we don't really know. They
yeah,
came in after the
yeah,
fact.
maybe it was a little bit more.
It was similar. They didn't have a boatload of room over there either because, as you folks know, I mean, they built these right up.
Right up. Yep.
Good, thank you, good, all set.
Like I said, that construction access could be a problem, but that's not my problem. Why do you have stockpile areas?
For the topsoil,
Oh, for the topsoil.
yeah.
So, you're building the new wall inside of the old wall.
It's, in some places, for example, where the Versalock or whatever they are walls, the wall is going in the same location.
And
Is
in
the
some
bottom of this
places,
new
there is
block
no.
wall below the Versalock, or is it gonna be up above it?
Well, the Versalock is coming out, and again, as
Right
Amy said,
here.
this new wall is constant elevation. According to our datum, it's 100.5, so all across the backyard, 100.5. And then, I can't speak for the contractor, but the construction sequence is probably gonna be, take the Versalock blocks out with a machine, take out what you need for topsoil and material in back of the new wall, because as you know, that's gonna be well-drained gravel. There'll be a back drain at the bottom of it, and then compacted layers. And
That was
then,
the question I asked, I didn't ask it correctly. So the bottom of the new wall is likely, you take the Versalock out and it's subsiding, so you know there's some foundation issues. So chances are you're gonna over-excavate underneath the Versalock and take some more unsuitable material out and put stone and set these new blocks on top of it.
Exactly, the structurals from Shea call for that. That's compacted, right. That's the footing or the bearing for the wall, if you will. Right. The Versalock wall is actually rotating out towards the wetlands. We don't, of course, there's no drawings, specifications for it. I don't know if there would be geogrid fabric. There should have been.
Do we even know if there's dewatering necessary?
That's what-
I think there's likely to be.
Absolutely.
If you've got movement in that Versalock wall, it tells me the base underneath it's probably not adequate, which means it's probably mucky. So if you're taking that out, you're likely to over-excavate, which means you might be in the wet.
Well, it's fairly dry at the base of the wall, Joe. My guess is that they didn't either have any geogrid fabric or they didn't have sufficient fabric, because the wall is rotating out. It's not,
Sinking.
the soil upgrading of the wall is subsiding. The wall itself doesn't look like it's subsiding, it's just like, it looks like it's rotating out, which is lateral restraint or lack thereof.
The pressure, the dirt, and the base is not substantial enough. It's probably put 6
But
inches
you
of
say the
stone,
wall itself's not
choke
moving.
the water down.
It's rotating out,
It's
it's
coming,
fading.
it's leaning out, yeah.
And as a general rule, if a wall starts to rotate out, it's
How
failing.
deep?
Yeah. Right, I think it should be battered back.
Exactly,
Goes beyond vertical, you're in trouble.
right.
3/4 crush.
And Amy and Justine saw that, we saw it when we first walked out there.
So we're getting into detail, I think we need a dewatering detail on the plan, and we need to really think about how they're gonna discharge, and then I have a feeling in at least some isolated locations, you're gonna be pumping.
Well, what I was, yeah, I agree. What I was suggesting, remember we did Woodley, and they were gonna run the excavator over the neighbor's yard to build
Yeah.
a wall?
Yeah.
And then we talked them into leaving the old wall and building a new wall in front of it. This might be a project similar to it. You're not losing, what are you losing, 18, 16 inches?
I hear you, but this is an area we've already waived through a 40B, we've already waived any disturbance, so everything we're giving up is just additional area.
Yeah, but they're doing on the
It just rubs
inside.
against me the wrong way.
They're doing on the-
Construction-wise, it might make sense.
Yeah, and it's on the inside of where the disturbance is, the other side is the wetlands. Build a wall in front. In some cases, they already are. And then you could, this way you won't disturb the water, because the water table's gotta be there. I guarantee the water table, because you're gonna go below.
The base of the wall is fairly dry, and, I mean, Amy and Justine saw where the water level, the wetland water level was with relation
Oh,
to
yeah, it's-
the base of the wall.
Yeah, I mean, the wall is what, 8 feet higher than the wetland?
That's what I'm looking at, these are real grades?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah,
adjacent
yeah.
wetlands at 90 and this is
That's-
98 total
That's
wall.
8
Wow.
feet.
That's-
I mean,
This plan is not Google or anything else. This is on-the-ground transit survey. Same with all the flag locations.
Yeah, yeah, it was a fun slope to get up and down.
Okay, if it's that high, then I have a question, I just, whenever you're doing disturbance against a wetland, it's gonna happen, but I mean, if now this wall base, the new wall base is gonna be deeper than this one,
Right?
correct?
A bit, not much, only to provide some lateral stability, and as we talked about earlier, there's going to be a gravel base. The other thing I should mention is that, and I remember this was an issue with Juniper, where nobody apparently inspected it, or if they did, no one knows where the reports were. This is going to have controlled construction, there's going to be inspections. And as a matter of fact, it's outside of this commission, but this wall needs a building permit, so Paul Hutchins should be involved.
Yeah, it'll
Alright, so-
need structural
so 6 feet.
engineering stamp.
Over 4 feet, you need a building
Yep.
Oh,
permit.
it's 4
Over
feet
6
now?
feet, over 6 feet, you need an engineer's stamp.
Oh, okay.
That's International Building Code.
Yep.
But when you say controlled construction, you mean
Inspections.
inspection, you don't mean invoking controlled construction under the building code, where there's an on-site engineer and
Right, it would be periodic inspections. And we'll be doing inspections too, maybe with Justine and Amy as far as erosion control and so forth, site stabilization before we come in and ask for a COC.
Like I said, you say it's fine, I definitely think you should have the dewater in place anyways.
There is, on the shade drawings, if you look at the section, they do call for a back drain and for the back drain to be daylighted. On 2.0, detail 4, it's over on the right-hand side of the drawing, 4-inch perforated drain with sock to daylight from base of retaining wall.
from a retaining wall, that's needed, and that makes sense, that's not what Louis is asking. I think what we're saying is, even though a lot of this wall is likely to not be in groundwater, there is a section probably from that moved flag A5, 5A1, right up through the end of that wall. So it's really a short distance, maybe 50 or 60 feet, where you probably are going to be in water, where the adjacent wetland.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is
No,
all,
actually, I'm still looking. That's
this is
90.
all
It's
above
still
the,
And that's 100.
Yeah, it's still 8,
Yeah.
98 comes right up to the
We're,
bottom of
we're,
the
we're really
existing
not
wall.
in the water, or else I would say so.
yeah, I would say so too.
So the area we're talking about taking the patio out, that area is already currently a retaining wall. If the existing grade at the top of that, the backyard is at 100,
100,
and the toe of the wall down there is at 92, that's an 8-foot high wall as it is. So when you are putting the footings in that area, you're likely to be in the groundwater, in that small little area. About a 50-foot stretch, you're gonna be in the wet.
90.
Well, I think the base of the wall's at 98 though, isn't it? Is that, am I reading that right?
Then
Looks like
Not in this area, it's not. I think if you got 90 and 92 that comes right up to the base of this wall, and the top is 100, and you're taking the whole Versalock out,
I see what you're saying.
you're gonna be down into the way, just in the short little area.
Yep, I see what you're
This
saying.
stretch right here
Right,
is likely to be in the wet.
I gotcha.
So,
Yeah, like you say, you take 4 feet off the 100, now you're at 96, and you haven't dug out for the base to separate.
Yep, I've
Way
seen
too much
it.
detail. The reality is, if we think there's gonna be a need for dewatering, show dewatering, detail of what you're gonna do, and show us where you're gonna do it, and where you're gonna discharge it to.
Yeah,
It's different than what Shay is saying to put in for a
no, that's for the wall.
retaining wall subdrain. They're two different things. And I think this sheet needs to show that. In fact, it does need to show
do
it.
you think we need more detail for elevation here? The elevations on either side of the wall in this area that I'm,
No, I don't think so.
no.
I think it's showing what we need.
So
Yeah, I
this
think
is,
it doesn't, man. Like I said, for me, dewatering, and I would double check where you wanna use your construction access. I think that's
so
pretty narrow.
this is 98,
No, I don't think it is.
right? And this is 100.
Can you zoom out a little bit? I'm not sure where we're at
Yeah,
yet.
but that's on top of the existing wall, right?
That's the top of the wall. So
Top of-
zoom out a little higher up so you use the scale. Slide the glasses on. Where's the patio that's being removed? That one right there?
Patio, right here.
So let me start with this. 90, 92, 92, 90, so 92 comes into the bottom of that wall.
Okay,
Meaning, only 2 feet above the wetland is this wall. This Versalock wall is gonna be close to 10 feet high to get to 100. If this is all getting ripped out, from about here to the very end of the wall is likely to be in the wet when they take that Versalock out. You're going down that deep to get to a good sound
Okay.
base.
so,
So what we're saying is, you're using the top of the wall as an elevation, where you should be using the base of the wall as the elevation. So you got the base of the wall,
right,
and you got another 2 feet or 2.5 feet down, because you got 6 inches,
gotcha.
you got gravel, you got stone,
Yep, to get the footing in.
to get the footing in, then you got the footing. So, then you add that on top of the wall, you know,
Right, so you're down,
so you're there. And you get a day like today with yesterday like 9 inches of rain, and you're underwater.
The wetland flags, it looks like all of them are about elevation 89. And Amy, you and Justine were there today.
yeah,
Weren't all of those flags up gradient from the actual water level? I know you were trudging
yes.
around in the water for a
Yes.
couple of minutes, but
Yes, they
weren't all the
were.
flags
They were.
on ele-
Yeah, then the existing, right, the
You-
water level that was there.
You know what I
yes.
mean by upland or
I-
up gradient?
Up gradient of the actual
So
standing
if they're all at
water.
89 and the lowest elevation of the wall is almost 94,
said, I don't know what the big deal is.
So,
It's
so,
not just you guys.
so my point is
The
that,
applicant's hesitant to do a dewatering hole.
Just show us that if,
Yeah.
when you encounter a situation that you need it, you don't have to stop and come to us and seek permission to do something different than what's on the plan. Show it now.
Yeah,
In this area, you might be, you may never need it, but in this area, you might need it. And if we do, this is what we intend to do. Show it. You don't have to build it, you don't have to do anything.
I think you should
But
build
if
it.
you need it, use it.
I think they should build it, because by the time, if they encounter water, by the time they get everything they need and dig the hole, it's too late.
It's the same conversation we did have with the other project, where they, lo and behold, when they went out there and dug,
Yeah.
they ended up having to redesign it because they were in fact in the groundwater.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, I mean, I'm not asking them to redesign the project, just dig a hole, put stone in it to dump the water in. And everybody's so hesitant to do that, and I don't understand why.
Just do
Especially
it.
from the contractor, I don't wanna deal with water.
This is a notice, right?
yes.
So we're just,
make it a
we're just
condition.
we're just gonna condition it. Let's move on.
Okay,
We've been on this for 35, 40 minutes.
Okay.
It's more than enough time.
I agree.
All right, so we need to continue because we don't have a DEP file
Okay.
number.
So I guess we do anyway. So-
Yeah,
So
so,
moved.
Second.
All those in favor
there's
say
no
aye.
way.
That
Okay.
was easy.
We beat that one up too.
All right, so 8:23,
That's exactly what I was talking about. Things take too long.
all right.
Exactly what I was talking about.
so
So,
if
I don't-
so if I heard you, if I understand that you're generally okay with the plan, and a dewatering paragraph might be put into the conditions?
Put in dewatering.
Uh,
Put in-
Dewatering
Put
might,
in the
Spec.
dewatering pit on the plan.
Something that the contractor's gonna look at and say, okay, I
so
need to
you
go
do,
get a
you
dirt
do
bag, or I
want,
need to do
somebody just
this.
said, put it in the condition, this gentleman.
I did. Well, I said
But
we're
I
gonna
mean, if
condition
we're-
it because I think the debate is over.
So whether you put it on the plan or not, we're gonna make you do it.
We're gonna
So
ask you
we're-
to do it.
In the
So-
conditions?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
of course.
It's a pre-construction.
As a pre-construction, meaning
pre-construction
It has to be there.
You-
we're
it's gonna
gonna
be-
want a
it's gonna be
dewatering
shown on the
spec.
plan, and you're gonna build it as a pre-construction condition.
And just.
And it's a reasonable, it's a reasonable
So-
request.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
if, you know,
They like want to build gold stone walls, it's just a hole.
Okay, no, we're good.
is that cool?
Okay,
I know it's closed, but do you have a preferred location for the, it's all in the
boy.
25 foot?
No. It's all gonna flow.
Uh,
So,
I'm-
okay,
I'm
question, I
thinking
know it's.
maybe over
Well,
by.
just one more question, because I suppose that they're gonna start at this end. They're gonna start at this end where we think the
Work their way out.
dewatering is gonna start,
And work their way out.
and work their way out.
So maybe
So the
A4,
dewatering should be
A3?
something like that, or,
It's gonna be
It's
within the
gotta-
25.
Well, you're gonna do a pre-construction meeting.
Do you
anyway,
do
right?
yeah, I
You
mean,
can
so,
specify
we
it.
can
You
specify.
can
you
identify
do the
that.
construction, you can
Correct.
show where you want it.
There'll be,
Yeah,
Tell them where you want it.
yeah, where it's gonna make sense, yeah.
It's easier to
Okay.
do on the ground anyway, just, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, kind of.
than looking at the plan.
In 2 weeks, of the advantage is the owner, the representative, is already talking to a contractor. Tell him that you're likely to get into groundwater. Let him tell you where you want it and how he's gonna deal with it, because we want to make sure it's buildable too.
Yeah,
But just tell you where, and then you come back to us like it was your idea.
yeah. Thanks, Paul.
When is the next?
The 23rd of August.
Okay.
Time flies.
Jesus, I think that's Groveland again.
Oh, no. Well, we might have a larger
All right.
agenda, who knows, I know.
All right,
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thanks
you.
so much for
Thank you.
coming.
Good night.
next one is Foster Farm agricultural lease renewal.
I'm in the midst of drafting up a I
we
mean,
met, so
yeah.
Amy and I did meet with Steve Young at the site. He's the farmer that farms the Foster Farm. He's the guy that's been doing it for years. And I don't think there was any disagreements on it.
No, I just have to
Yeah.
renew it. I
But we
just have to-
did meet, and he
I'm
did
in the
he
middle
did
of
express
just
his intent to renew.
No concern with oil spill, no mo?
The oil spill's not gonna affect
Not
the
affect
hay,
us.
because the hay is upland. He doesn't mow or bale in the wetland.
He doesn't get that low.
He doesn't get that low, so the
You know
damage,
why?
the damage that was done by the oil spill. No, it's a valid question,
You know why?
because there are farmers that bale seedless hay, which is usually wetland hay.
I drove past a cornfield today, there was a sign posted on it, swim at wrong risk, no lifeguard on duty,
No lifeguard on duty, yeah.
in front of a cornfield.
A cornfield?
Yes,
Okay.
it's,
I think they stole it from the beach.
let me assure you, it's no joke. We're, what else is left on, Amy?
That's it.
Uh,
I don't have a decision for 95 Olympic. I didn't get to,
We've satisfied the agenda?
yep.
We have.
Motion
We
to
have.
adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, that's unanimous.